So why do the scandals always seem to happen over there? Not in the gleaming headquarters, but in some distant office you can barely find on the company map. The emissions cheat in the US lab, the money laundering in the Eastern European branch, the data breach in the little overseas team they forgot to integrate. It's not bad luck. It's not just local management screwed up. It's by design. Think about it. Every complex organization makes a silent calculation. Where do you put your best people, your biggest budgets, your tightest controls? At the center, where the power is, where the brand reputation lives. That's the fortress. And what's outside the fortress? The frontier, the distant outposts, the emerging markets and innovation hubs and cost centers. These places have a different job. Their job isn't to be perfect. Their job is to be expendable. Let's diagnose if you're working on one of these frontiers. Symptom 1, you get the glorious mission, but not the money. You're told you're pioneering or disrupting, but your budget looks like you're running a lemonade stand. You're supposed to win a war with a water pistol. Symptom 2, you drown in reports, but you're starved of authority. You send endless data back to HQ to prove you're transparent. But ask for approval to buy a new printer. That goes through a 6-week committee at head office. You're responsible for everything, but you control almost nothing. Symptom 3, your KPIs are carved in stone. Your support is written in sand. Your growth targets are non-negotiable. But when the IT system crashes or you need legal advice, you're ticket number 457 in the queue. You're judged like a core business, but you're supported like an afterthought. Symptom 4, you're either the hero of the story or the cost of doing business. When things are good, your struggles are a local issue. When things go bad, you're the first line item on the cost-cutting spreadsheet. You're not a pillar of the company, you're the crash test dummy. Now, why would a rational system set up whole departments to fail? Because it's not failure to them. It's part of the plan. They're running 3 cold calculations. Calculation 1. The periphery is a shock absorber. HQ's main job is to protect the golden core, the flagship products, the home market, the stock price. But here's where it gets interesting. What if the edges, the so-called leftovers, hold the key to the next breakthrough? Maybe the disposable teams are the ones with the most untapped potential. Let's explore why the edges aren't just the danger zone. They might be the future. They're the cheap seats. If a problem erupts in a faraway factory with lower safety standards, HQ can contain it. They call it a local compliance issue. Fire a few managers, and the core brand stays clean. The edge is designed to get dirty so the center can stay spotless. Calculation 2. The periphery is a legal and ethical sandbox. Want to test something risky? A new financial trick? A shady data collection scheme? A morally dubious AI? Don't do it at headquarters. Do it in that small subsidiary overseas or in the startup you just bought. If it works and makes money, great. Fold it into the main company and take credit. If it blows up in a scandal, you have perfect deniability. That was the autonomous action of a separate legal entity. We are as shocked as you are. The periphery isn't just for business experiments, it's for ethical firewalls. Calculation 3. Rules simply don't travel well. The big rule book from HQ, its power fades with distance. By the time it reaches a sales office in a different continent, it's more of a suggestion. Local managers, under immense pressure to hit their numbers, learn to bend it. They forge flexible relationships with local officials. They find shortcuts. HQ might even vaguely know this is happening. They adopt a strategic don't ask, don't tell policy. They let the edges work in the shadows to make profit, knowing they can always sacrifice those managers later for violating company policy when the light shines on them. Here's the tragic irony. The very things a peripheral team does to survive actually guarantee its eventual disaster. Do you cut corners with a local supplier to hit your cost target? The system sees you building a shadow network. And here's the kicker. What if that network could be your greatest strength? Let's dive into how you can turn this risk into leverage. Do you skip HQ approvals to get things done fast? The system logs you as bypassing control protocols. You're making yourself invisible on the risk radar until it's too late. Do you stop reporting problems because HQ never helps anyway? You just turned off your own alarm system. You're a blind spot now, sitting on a ticking bomb. So when the inevitable blow-up happens, what's the playbook? The system has its scripts ready, but what if you knew the game was rigged from the start? What if understanding these scripts gave you the power to rewrite them? Script A. The surgical strike closed the office, fire everyone local, issue a press release, an isolated incident by a rogue team. But what if you could turn the surgical strike into a comeback story? What if your role in this game is more than just a pawn? Stay tuned to learn how you can rewrite this script. Then use the scandal as an excuse to clamp down on all distant offices even harder. Script B, the limited hangout. Sacrifice the local manager. Maybe his boss gets a slap on the wrist. Announce a new review process, which just means more paperwork for everyone. This makes it look like action has been taken without changing the fundamental game of giving people impossible tasks and no resources. Script C, the designated dumping ground. Officially label the whole region non-strategic. Stop investing, but don't shut it down. Use it to park failed executives or to handle messy work the core doesn't want to touch. It becomes the company's landfill. The old brutal insight here is this. No empire can defend every inch of its border with a castle wall. It's too expensive, so it builds an impenetrable citadel at the center and accepts that the outer villages might get raided sometimes. The villagers are acceptable losses. In corporate terms, under pressure for quarterly profits, HQ decides that perfection everywhere is a bad investment. It's cheaper to make the edges predictably fragile. They prepay for the disaster with lower budgets, and they pre-write the apology when it happens. So, what's the takeaway? If you're out on the edge, understand you're playing a different game. Your main risk isn't failing at your job, it's being the designated failure when the system needs one. If you're at HQ, don't be fooled when a local problem explodes. Ask, how did our systems, our resource choices, and our impossible demands design this outcome? We're not here to assign blame, we're here to read the blueprint. The blueprint shows the accident zones were drawn before the first brick was laid. But this leads to a fiendishly clever next question. If the system is so good at creating these sacrificial zones, what happens when you're right at the heart of it? What happens when the stakes are higher than ever, and you're not just playing a game, but the game is playing you? Let's unpack this next. The jobs that are right at the heart of things but are just as deadly. How does it get anyone to voluntarily stand on a landmine? It doesn't force them, it glorifies them. It creates a very special, very dangerous kind of celebrity. And that's what we'll talk about next.